Appalachian Genealogy presents World War I Draft Cards, Physical Descriptions, Reading Bodies on Paper.
What if you could actually see your great-grandfather's face, even if not a single photograph of him exists? Well, today we're going to dig into how a single, century-old document can do pretty much just that. It can bring our ancestors to life in a way you probably never imagined. Just imagine you're digging through old files and you find this one little line of text. Tall, slender, blue eyes, dark hair. It's so simple, so direct, but all of a sudden, a name on your family tree starts to feel like a real, living, breathing person. You know, for a lot of people, especially if you've got roots in places like Appalachia, where records can be really scarce, this isn't just some hypothetical question. It's the absolute reality of their research. A simple line like this might just be the closest they'll ever get to seeing a face that was never, ever captured on film. Yeah, and places where courthouses burned down or records just weren't kept that well, these short little physical descriptions become incredibly valuable. They really act as genealogical anchors, turning a simple name into a person you can almost, recognize. So where on earth do these amazing little details come from? Well, the answer is in a document that was created for a completely different reason: the World War I Draft Registration Card. Let's dig into the history behind these incredible records. Okay, so back in 1917, the U.S. passed this act, and what it did was create thousands of local draft boards. Their job? To register every single eligible man in their area. I mean, it was a massive, massive undertaking, and it had this incredible and probably completely unintentional side effect for all of us genealogists. And when I say massive, I mean it. Between 1917 and 1918, a staggering 24 million men were registered. That's almost 98% of all American men who were born between 1872 and 1900. An entire generation, documented right there on paper. And what they captured on these cards is pretty surprising. I mean, you've got the basics, right? Name, birth date. But they also included what has become absolute genealogical gold, a physical description. The registrars wrote down height, build, eye and hair color, and even any obvious disabilities. Now, this becomes a total game changer for Appalachian research. This was a time of huge movement. Guys were leaving the farm for coal camps or heading north to factories. So an ancestor from Kentucky might have actually registered in Ohio. And when you have like 5 cousins all named James Smith, knowing one was tall with blue eyes and another was short and stout, well, that becomes the key that unlocks everything. It's that one stabilizing detail in a whole sea of common names and people on the move. Okay, so we've got the history. Now let's get practical. How can you actually use these physical descriptions to unlock your own family story? Let's break down the toolkit.
These descriptions, they really give you 5 powerful tools for your research. You can use them to tell apart 2 men with the exact same name. You can use them to confirm or even challenge those old family stories. Was Grandpa really a big, tall man? You can track an ancestor's migration, maybe from a little farm in Tennessee all the way to a factory in Michigan. You can even find clues about their health, and ultimately you can just build a much richer, more human picture of who they were.
Let's picture this. You're looking for your ancestor, John Smith, and you find 2 cards from the same county. One describes a short, stout farmer with brown eyes. The other, a tall, slender coal miner with blue eyes. Right away, that physical description just cuts straight through all the confusion. You now have 2 very distinct individuals.
All right, let's really put this into practice. We're going to look at a real-world case study. This is where you can see exactly how these clues come together to solve a genuine genealogical puzzle. So here's the scenario for you. Your ancestor is William H. Johnson. You know he was from eastern Kentucky, and family lore always said he was a slim, dark-haired guy who worked in the mines. So you find 2 draft cards for a William H. Johnson, same county, both about the same age. How in the world do you know which one is yours? Okay. Let's look at the evidence. William number 1 is a farmer, and he's described as short, stout, blue eyes, light hair. William number 2 is a coal miner, and he's described as tall, slender, brown eyes, dark hair. That second description. It perfectly matches the family story of a slim, dark-haired man who worked in the mines. So when you put it all together, the physical description, the occupation, and that family story, the case is pretty much closed. You now know with a lot of confidence to follow the paper trail for the second William H. Johnson. That draft card, it gave you the key piece of evidence that totally separated these 2 men. But you know, beyond all the data and the detective work, these records really offer something, well, something more profound. They give us a real connection to the human beings behind the names.
These aren't just cold, clinical descriptions. They're hints of a life that was really lived. When you read medium height, stout, gray eyes, you can't help but picture a man standing in line at that registration office, carrying the weight of his work and his whole world right there on his shoulders. And really, that's the magic of these documents. They aren't just federal forms. They are these little snapshots in time that can transform ghosts in the archive into tangible people. They let them step forward and be seen, even if it's just for a moment, in the story of our families. So, I'll just leave you with this to think about. If you've looked at these records before, what's the one detail that just stopped you in your tracks? What was that single line of text that gave you a real glimpse of the person behind the name, and how did it change your connection to your own family story?
Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, follow, and share. Be sure to visit the blog at www.appalachiangenealogy.com for more.